So tell me a little bit about this. If the need is up, why fewer hampers? What have you found?
A lot of it is just purely resourcing and timing. Putting together hampers is a really time-intensive process, and the way that we do the way that we do it is focused on creating employment throughout the process. So we have to rely on the partner network that we have and what resources they've got in terms of scheduling, when we're going to do things, when it's good for them to draw in people that they can employ to do the packing and distribution of the hampers, as well as the shopping. Last year it worked out that we had two great organizations to work with. This year, it looks like so far we're only going to be working with one. So really, it's just a matter of not only how good was our fundraising and how many dollars do we have to parcel out, but also what kind of work are our partners doing? Is there something that they perceive as more urgent that means that they're just not going to have the resources to be able to help us with it?
You are partnered with the West Broadway Community Organization still for some of the goods. Yeah. How pervasive are the problems this year when you think about sort of the landscape of Winnipeg and the need going up, and yet, a lot of nonprofits are saying that they're having challenges keeping up as well? Yeah,
it's one of these things where what happens this year doesn't always affect this year. Sometimes it rolls over into next year. We tend to think of things like inflation and food prices as a very local thing. Like this month, prices are up by 2.2%. Last month they were up by 2.4%, and that it's a rolling average thing. Where if we in the previous year did a certain amount of fundraising and we got a certain amount of resources to dedicate to this, last year's fundraising affects this year's hamper.
Got it. So you're always looking ahead.
Yeah, we're always looking ahead.
What's it like for families that are trying to look ahead and plan right now? How stressful is that?
It's really difficult. A lot of the feedback that we've had is that it's really difficult, and it's unfortunate that there isn't often a lot of time to tell the nuanced version of this story. When you're dealing with sound bites on the news and in big reports, people tend to absorb the easy things to absorb. For example, it's really easy to say that Stats Canada released a report recently that says food prices are up by 4%, but that's an average. So some prices have actually gone down, which is great, but then beef and chocolate are up by 10% and coffee's up by 28%. These are huge rises. And dragging it down to 4% just you do have to look at those averages, but it doesn't really carry the nuance of the decisions that people have to make, especially with the tariff situation with the states. There's so much uncertainty in what's going to happen, and people try to plan for the future and stock up where they can. But if you're a low resource household, you can't really do the stocking up in the same way that somebody can, with pantry space can do that.
I know you shared with me and with CBC, the reality is, quote, we can feed more families insufficiently or fewer families properly, end quote. What's it like having to make that decision? This is back to looking at what you can put in hampers and also factoring in food costs somewhat, I imagine. But what's it like having to make that decision?
Yeah, it's really tough. The partners that we work with, West Broadway is a really good example of a partner that's very conscientious about what their community needs, and the way that they think about putting the hampers together is they're looking at they've got other food security programs, so they've got a good knowledge of what is a meal rather than just some food, and that turns out to be a completely different way to think about how you're doing your shopping, especially if you're transitioning from I'm going to have a boxed frozen pizza or what have you. You can buy that, and it's a certain amount of dollars for a certain amount of meal value. But if you're dealing with ingredients rather than prepared food, which I'll claim tend to be a little bit healthier, that you have to think about things differently, and your dollars stretch a different level when you're doing that stuff.
Friday is obviously the breakfast, and we'll give people the hours. I'm helping to MC, and it goes toward the hampers. But all of your work, even those who are cooking Friday, contributing to the hampers, is about employment. It's implied in your name, local investment toward employment. Trying to get people who otherwise might not have a foothold in the work world kind of on that ladder. Where are the opportunities right now for that in our community, for people to get started in employment?
So it's actually been a really good year for this. Last year, I don't know if you'd remember, but we had some opportunities to do some new stuff last year, and it's less so this year because those opportunities have paid off. For example, last year we provided a seed grant to Build, which is a wonderful social enterprise, and did some work with them to figure out how they can do some temporary staffing work. And they spun up an entire subsidiary business that they're calling Skoden Staffing, which is great. But it's still construction work, but it's a different model than their normal training program. So it gives access to a completely different community of people who maybe don't fit into the training program that Build has normally, but can still do some work.
How's that gone year over year then?
It's been really good. I mean, their whole thing is that they want to get people into work rather than having them some people struggle with like the interview process, and they don't always do well in that kind of situation. But once you get them with a hammer in their hand or what have you, they can prove that they can do the work, and it's very upfront, and they've had really good success with it.
Yeah.
Not all of our programs function that way, and I mean that was us having an opportunity to support another organization. A lot of the jobs that we create are for people that may not fit into the workforce in the normal sense. These are people that are on EIA, so they've got restrictions that they're stuck with, where they don't want to run into earning too much money, so they get clawbacks, and there's a lot of math that we have to do with that. But it tends to be sort of like what can we do to help people without causing additional problems for them.
And have you found more opportunities for people this year then? You said it's been a good year. Were you referring more to the success of the Skoden program? Skoden coming out of last year was quite good, and they don't need our help anymore, which is really nice. Like that's kind of always what you want, is to put people in a situation. This year we've had pretty good success with our spring job grants, which we do every year to sort of counterbalance the year against our hamper. But the bulk of the work really does happen around the breakfast and the hamper. It's 50 to 70% of our jobs every year. All right. Friday, I'm emceeing. We're going to be at the Ukrainian Labor Temple again. Give us the Coles notes of when people should show up and how they can buy tickets and support LITE.
So tickets are available online. It's through our website. They're $35 each. There's 2 seatings, so it's a little bit more convenient for people. We're starting our first seating at 8 a.m., the second seating at 9:30, but come and go as you please, really. The venue's wonderful. We've got a lot of capacity. We've got some great entertainment curated by Folklorama. We have three artists again, as we did last year, and it's just going to be a really fun time to see people in the community and get connected with people and see the work being done in front of your eyes.
It's such a nice community kickoff to the holiday season.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll see you Friday, Ian. Thank you for being in.
Thank you.
That's Ian Rountree live in our studio, the executive director of LITE. So Friday's 28th annual LITE breakfast, maybe it's been a tradition for you, is happening, as I mentioned, at the Labor Temple at 591 Pritchard Avenue, lovely restored space, 8 to 11, those food seatings at 8 and 9:30, entertainment throughout. So you can get tickets at the door, but you can also go online, find out more about the organization as well at LITE, LITE.mb.ca.